I was walking home from classes at the usual time of 8 p.m. The only thing different this time was that I was playing Pokemon Go on my smartphone. The game was and is all the rage as I write this down. Basically, this is an experience that happened to me while playing the game in public. As a preface, I personally did not think that I would get in any sort of trouble while playing this game. At the time of writing, it seems like many people are finding themselves in places they wouldn't otherwise be in. So there I was, walking about in the city streets. I would glance at my phone on occasion. The sunlight had all but faded. There was the random passerby, but for the most part the streets themselves were vacant. My phone had caught my attention. A Sandshrew was close by. Needless to say, it caught my interest. Sandshrew was my favorite Pokemon, and he always was part of my team in the main series of games. I quickened my pace towards the direction of the Pokemon. I finally made it to the general location of where the Sandshrew was. I then noticed that it would require for me to walk a few more yards or so. The Sandshrew was in the alley. It was already dark, and the alleyway looked like complete garbage. Literal garbage was strewn about, and I could hardly see the contents of what was in the alleyway itself. Against my better judgment, I made my way into it. The first thing that hit me was the putrid smell of garbage. It was like I had stepped into a rotting landfill. I started to use my phone as a source of light, as it was nearly impossible to make anything out in the darkness. I then noticed something odd. There was some sort of man-made shelter close by. The overall structure of it appeared to be made of roofing material. The doorway, if you can call it that, had been covered by a filthy-looking blanket. I tried to ignore the fact that I may have stumbled upon someone's living quarters, and went back to business. That Sandshrew was the only reason I was here. I was getting sidetracked. Time to get back to business. Capturing that Sandshrew was the #1 priority. So there it was, the majestic Sandshrew that I had traveled so far to get. At least it felt like I had traveled far. I lobbed a few Pokeballs at it, and finally captured the elusive creature. To me, this was equal to capturing the rarest of legendaries. Suddenly, a noise from the location of the shack I had previously viewed. I tried to ignore it and give it an explanation. Must have been a rat or something. In truth, though, I was troubled. I turned around and knew that was my only exit. I carefully began to walk towards the exit of the alley. The sweet, vibrant embrace of the streetlights were within my view. I became impatient and started to pick up the pace in which I was walking. This was my mistake. In doing so, I had crushed a soda can that was in my path. To make matters worse, the can itself was stuck on the bottom of my shoes. It was all or nothing now. I removed the soda can and what seems to be its perfect mold from my shoe. Fear had taken hold of me. Flight or flight. Certainly flight. I ran past the shack, and as I did so, a figure arose from it. An individual had thrown the blanket open. Said person had a crowbar in hand. While running past the shack, it seemed like time had slowed down. I had to get out of there. Fear had somehow taken hold of my legs and made them weak and unresponsive. The person chased me until the end of the alley. I continued to run down the street and eventually reached a store. The clerk was quick to pick up on me being disturbed by something, and asked if I was all right. I spared myself the embarrassment of having to explain the whole story, of how I could have gotten myself injured or worse because of a silly sand shrew.